much, and good morning, everybody. As Jessica was saying, my name is Kirsten Ateng. I'm the manager of the New Brunswick Employee Support Services based out of Moncton, but we work throughout the province. And yes, I'm in Montreal today, so I'm doing this webinar with my colleague Mireille from a remote location. So we were testing technology before we started the webinar, so I apologize if you guys had to hear us a little bit before we started the webinar. So technically, what's New Brunswick Employer Support Services all about before we start with our guests? Well, we support province employers throughout the province in the hiring of person with disability. We're not client-based. It's really important to remember for employers and agencies. We're not client-based. We work with specialized agencies throughout the province, like the one that we will be talking about this morning. And we work with them in order to support employers in the hiring. But our job is to change the employer's mindset, with the whole concept of hiring person with disabilities. So what we do, we provide the business case. We share information to employers to get them excited. We try to provide them as much tools as possible, especially in regards to the how to hire, recruit, and retain. And as I said, once an employer is really ready, willing, and capable, we share the information with agencies throughout the province that with their clients, they try to match the required skill sets that the employer is looking for. Now, having said that, just before I finish with Invest. It's important to know that we are being funded by the federal provincial agreement on the labor market agreement, and our funding comes directly funneled through the Department of Post-Secondary Education, Training and Labor of New Brunswick. Now, having said that, today we have the honor and the privilege, if I may, of having with us Madame Mireille Lavoie, who is the Assistive Technology Specialist for CNIB, right, Mireille?
Exactly. Hi, everybody.
Well, welcome et bienvenue. It's a real pleasure to have you today for this webinar on the topics that we entitled this presentation, Seeing Beyond Vision Loss. The whole idea about this presentation is to give you an overview about vision loss, what are the services available, and kind of to a certain extent bring down the barriers from an employer's perspective about persons with vision loss in terms of being able to perform and contribute to society like in no different way than anybody else. So Mireille, please, I'm going to start giving you the floor to share with us a little bit about your organization. So feel free to give us a little bit perspective about CNIB, please.
Hi, everybody. Thank you for having me. CNIB is an organization that exists. We're celebrating our 100th anniversary in March, the 21st. And we are a community support, information, and national agency that tries to represent our client. And our goal is to give the tools that our clients need to do what they want to do in life. It can be working or leisure or whatever they want to do, travel. That's our main goal in life, make our clients as independent as possible.
So CNIB is a national organization, and it's been in operation for 100 years.
Yes.
You look very, very nice for a person who's been there for 100 years, Mireille. I just want to let you know about that. So, but you have offices, or is it offices, or you have a division for New Brunswick, or is it there's no such thing?
Yeah, we have 4 larger divisions in Canada, like the Atlantic provinces, and are in one area.
Okay.
Then Quebec and Ontario, and then the West. I don't know much about that because they're too far, but okay. Yeah, and then each province is autonomous. We each have our way to do things from the directive from the national.
Okay, perfect. So talk to us a little bit about the mission per se of your organization, because, like the mission says it all about, what an organization is all about. So give us a little bit perspective about the mission per se.
Yeah, well, the way we do things, we try to, and it's in our name, rehabilitation. We try to give tools to our clients so they can learn how to do things differently. Let's say you want to write a letter to someone, you can learn Braille to do that, or you can send an electronic message through your iPad or your whatever. And there are tools that exist that makes those things accessible. And also you want to learn how to clean your floor, but you don't see. So there are ways to do that that will let you do that. So our like I said, our main objective is to make people, teach people how to do things so they can do those things by themselves and still be able to live alone, or, be a part of the community and participate in the community as much as they want.
So I guess independency is the key word in your mission, and that's the main goal of your organization.
Exactly.
Provide independency either for personal or even professional as well, provide the tools.
Yeah.
Perfect. All right. So in other words, so what do? You already covered a little bit, but run through the little things that you do, like in terms of organization per se on a regular basis with your clientele.
Yeah. We have 7 services that we offer to our clients. We have referral, which is when they come to us and we talk with the clients and we direct them to the services that they need. We have low vision, not low vision, I can't remember, they always use the acronym, so I can't remember, but it's our counselor that talk with people who have vision loss and they don't adapt to their new situation. So we have group meetings and people talk about their situation, and talking to other people who have the same experience can be very helpful. So that's one thing that we do. We also have orientation and mobility. We help clients to get to where they want to go in a safe way. And we have independent living skills. It's what I was talking to you about, learning how to do things inside the house, to be able to continue to live at home.
Okay.
We have Assistive Technology, which is what I do. And that's the service that clients need when they want to use a computer and they can't see as well as before. So there are things that they can use that will make it easier. I don't know if it's 7 things, but I think that's about it.
Okay. You said something about independent trend.
Sorry, I forgot. Low vision, which is our specialist, is the one that the clients see when they still have remaining vision and they want to be able to read their bank account or whatever, and they need magnifiers or CCTVs and other things like that. They need better, like in a workplace, they might just need a better lighting. Okay. And that's what she does.
That's an important comment that you just made, and it brings me to something that I'd like to ask you, and I don't know if it's the right moment or whatsoever, but let's say that you talk about services that you offer to a person who has vision loss, but you just mentioned something about the workplace. Technically, though, Mireille, is it fair to say that if, let's say that I am an employer and I have one of my workers who's experiencing vision loss, as an employer, can I reach out to you guys as well to get some kind of advice?
Absolutely. With the client, the person who could become a client has to agree to it. But yeah, you can call, and the employer can call and ask us to help with the client.
Okay.
And then we can go to the workplace and help.
Do the assessment and try to figure out, what are the best accommodation whatsoever.
Yeah. Yeah.
Quite interesting. This slide is, for me, it says it all, because, like with my limited knowledge in terms of vision loss, for me, when we talk about somebody about vision loss, it's white cane. It's an image that I have in my head.
Yeah.
That vision loss is white cane.
Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about, what you want to say about this slide, though, because I think it's quite interesting.
Yeah. The population in general thinks that CNIB means only person who are blind, but it's not true. Like you will see, I think it's the next slide, 90% of our clients still have vision, and oh no, that's the other one after.
Okay. It's okay.
Yeah. Anyway, we have more than just white canes. All the services that can help people, sometimes it don't need
Yeah, okay.
advice. Thank you, Chris. Because you can buy a magnifier, but there are other things than just a magnification. There are all kinds of magnifiers that could help you better than that. And if the one at the drugstore works for you, great. But if it doesn't, we're here to help with that.
Okay. Well, that's quite interesting, because as I said, from my perspective, somebody who has vision loss, experience some kind of vision loss, white cane, and it's definitely not the case. We're talking about, like the early symptom, or, like light or heavy vision loss, and there is a big variation among, vision
exactly.
loss, right? Okay.
Yeah. Like some people are born blind, or they develop a disease early on and they become blind when they're really young. But anybody, unfortunately, can become blind if you have a history of, if you catch a virus, or there are so many causes for a vision loss. I couldn't begin to tell you how many there are. And also, as the population gets older, you can develop age-related macular degeneration and glaucoma, and it's incredible. And a lot of people are okay their whole life, and then they have cataracts, or they have, you can develop a vision loss
at any moment, anytime.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Any moment, anytime. So talk to me a little bit, though. Is it fair to say, or would you like to go into a little bit of definitions on this slide, or you would rather prefer going to the next ones before?
Well, let's go to the next slide, and then we'll do the definitions.
Perfect. Hold on. Yeah, in terms of numbers, I was blown away when I saw those numbers, to be honest with you. I never thought the numbers would be that high, though.
Yeah, but yeah, it can be scary when you think that 25,000 people live with significant vision loss in New Brunswick, but they are not totally blind. Okay?
I hear you. Yeah, okay.
So sometimes just using, well, not just using, but sometimes using a magnifier or people can continue to live as before.
Yeah.
And on that 25,000 people, more than 5,000 our clients. It means that a lot of people don't have our services, and maybe they should, because we could help them live a better life, a more independent life.
But Mireille, as per your perspective, though, is it because they don't know about the services, or really we're still in these days up to
it's incredible how many people don't know about CNIB, and it's sad to say even doctors don't know about us. But we are doing things to make us know more, like doing what we're doing right now.
Exactly, I was going to say.
Yeah, but we do other things too. We visit the ophthalmologist in the province, the optometrist and we work with what is it called?
See it in French.
And we do presentations in workplaces like call centers and everywhere. We do a lot of that. Yeah.
That's interesting because, for an employer's perspective, though, having some kind of assistance in order to allow their employees to be as efficient as everybody else, though, I guess sometimes employers don't know, but having you guys, bringing you guys in to do an assessment about their workplaces could have a positive impact down the road for their bottom line, if I may call it this way, because if people are in a position of being even more productive, it's a win-win situation.
Yeah, like I can give you an example. I had a client who used to work in a call center, excuse me, and I have to. Sorry. I had a client who used to work in a call center, and the employers thought that it would be a good idea to invite some of us here to do a presentation about our services, kind of a sensibilization of the staff that worked with our client. And we had really good positive feedback after the presentation. Yeah.
Cool. Now that's quite interesting. You said something about the numbers, and and this slide is quite interesting. Per region, though, I look at the 65 years of age and plus represent around 80% of the whole population, or your clients, I should say, because you have to specify it's your clients.
So 19% are under 65. Yeah.
Okay, so but with your client base, though, this is what we're talking about. But it kind of says everything about it's something that it does affect people at. Usually, the older you get, the most likely chances are getting higher. Let's put it this way.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Exactly. Yeah.
All right. So, talk to me a little bit about the common eye disease, though, in a nutshell. Without giving us a specific course, but I guess as you said early on, there's different disease, though, and it's like I'd like to hear a little bit about it.
Yeah. So cataracts. It's a film that forms in front of the eye, like inside the eye, on the lens. It covers the lens, and when it's mature enough, it can be removed, and the lens can be removed and replaced by a plastic one. Okay, usually that kind of situation happens to people who are around 70.
Okay.
Unless you were negligent and you look at the sun when there was an eclipse.
Okay.
And that happened to me. That happened to me.
Really?
I had cataracts removed when I was like 42, something like that. So yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. And then glaucoma is you see only in the middle. It's the tunnel vision.
Okay.
But I can't remember what caused that. Unfortunately, I'm sorry. I should have taken notes about that. But the end result is that your vision, the vision is blurred around.
And it's really focused in the middle.
Like a tunnel. And it's, I remember now, it's the pressure in the eye. There's a liquid inside the eye. And if the liquid for a reason or another is, there's too much liquid in the eye, the pressure gets higher and it affects the optic nerve. So that's why you end up seeing like that. Diabetic retinopathy, that's caused by diabetic, of course. Okay.
Yeah,
diabetes,
definitely.
sorry. And you see by patches. It also has to do with, the sugar in the blood. And of course, the blood goes everywhere in the body. So it goes in the eyes and you end up seeing with patches like that. And those pictures are really, that's not exactly what you see, and it can vary also. And age-related macular degeneration, the macula is a little point inside the eye, in the back of the eye. And when it becomes deteriorated, you don't see in the middle, you see only outside.
Wow.
So yeah. So that, like it says, it's age-related.
Age-related.
Yeah.
But tell me, so those are the common ones that usually we see on a regular basis. Yeah. And would it be fair to say that cataract is by far, as opposed to the other ones, the most common one, though?
No, they're not in that order. No. People with the most common eye disease is age-related macular degeneration, because our population is older.
Really? Then, that's interesting.
Yeah, then we have the retinopathy. Some regions in the province are more affected. I don't know why. Yeah, and glaucoma, and then cataract. It's starting less and going towards the more common.
But that's quite interesting when you said that diabetic retinopathy, some areas are more affected than others, like that's quite interesting. I guess there's interesting research you do there. Yeah. But I guess it's, well, anyway, I'm kind of surprised to hear that. It's pretty interesting, let's put it this way. So in a nutshell, and we already talked about this a little bit, we already covered that, but who can benefit from your services, though, in a nutshell, Mireille, and how usually it happens?
Okay, so our clients are referred to us it can be by anybody. Let's say you have your mother you notice that she has a vision loss, you can refer her to us. She can come by herself to us. Our doctor can refer her to us. It doesn't matter. You can walk in and we can give you this. We won't give you the service right there and then because we are really busy, but we'll take your name and your phone number and all that information. Somebody will call back and explain to you all the services that we offer. So it can be for a student, it can be for someone who is working, it can be for anybody that has a vision loss.
And it could be either a client, somebody who has a vision loss, or it could also be an employer calling about, it doesn't have to be the client per se, the individual.
No, right? It doesn't have to be, but the person has to give their agreement. And also,
their consent.
Yeah. And also we need a visual report from a doctor, because we need to know what the condition is, what the eye disease is, to be able to have them the better, so yeah.
You said something quite interesting, because like we have to be careful here, so that so that the people, and especially the audience of this webinar, don't feel or think that CNIB can replace an eye doctor. It's definitely not, you're not replacing eye doctor, but your role and responsibility has to do in your mission. It has to do about allowing people to become more independent or independent as much as possible. And I guess it always goes back to your mission, your goal. And independent means either uh, moving around, as you said, and it could be, working like everybody else, having access to all kind of services to allow a person to maintain a certain level of independency, or being independent totally, like one or the other, right?
Yeah.
90% of the people that goes and see you guys still have vision. That's quite interesting, I guess. So people are experiencing some issues, and usually it's like, okay, well, until it's getting worse and worse, like they go at you and ask for services to maintain their level of independence, right?
Yes. Well, on that, I can tell you that we define people who are legally blind by having their information. I didn't say that well, but for us, someone who is legally blind, it means that they have a best corrected visual acuity of 20/200, which means that somebody who has 20/20, they are at 20 feet from something and reading it. But somebody who has 20/200, it means that they have to be at 20 feet from something that somebody, it's very complicated, that somebody who has 20/20 can read at 200 feet.
Okay.
Is that clear?
It must be clear.
Okay, let's say it's you and me, okay? I have 20/200 and you have 20/20. Okay, you can read something, you are at 200 feet from something that you have to read, and you can read it. For me, I have to be at 20 feet to be able to read it.
Okay, I hear you.
Okay. And somebody who has, or somebody who has a visual field of less than 20 degrees in the better eye, that's somebody who is legally blind. So the field is, how can you see, if you put something here, can you see it with your eyes? Without turning your head? So 20 is about this. If you can see that part here, it means that, approximately that, it means that you are legally blind.
So we're talking about peripheral view. Is that it?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, it's the vision field.
Okay.
What you can see around you without moving your head.
Okay.
Okay. And people with vision loss between these, okay, wait. So yeah, so those are the two main criteria to define somebody as being legally criteria blind.
Place.
Yeah. Only 10% of people who have vision loss are at our place here, are legally blind. Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about, from your own perspective, Mireille, what are the challenges related to employment for somebody who experienced vision loss? And I guess, this is part of your experience working with this organization, but I'll just, for the audience perspective, so that they have a better appreciation where individuals with vision loss, where they're coming from and what would be the challenges.
Yeah, depending on the person, because as we just saw, there are different situations, but usually it's getting to the workplace. Most people who have vision loss can't drive. They cannot use a car by themselves. So they have to get from point A to point B to get to work. If it's in an urban situation, like if you're in a city, that's not too bad, because you can either take the bus or you can arrange a drive with somebody else. But if you live in a rural environment, it can be more difficult, because no bus, no taxi, and maybe no neighbors that works near where you want to work. So that's really hard for the people who want to find employment.
Because I guess, Mireille, sorry to interrupt you, but as you said, I guess it's directly related to the service available, in terms of public service, public transportation available in some areas.
Exactly.
So I guess if you are in major cities, I guess that is not the issue would be a little bit less for a person who has vision loss to getting to the workplace or in and out of the workplace. But I guess in rural area, from for instance, the Acadian Peninsula, where I'm from, it could remain a big issue for an individual who has vision loss because of the lack of public transportation available.
Exactly. Yes. Yeah.
It's pretty sad, though.
Yeah. And that's where the orientation and mobility specialist comes into play. She will be able to find ways to get to work. If there are ways, sometimes there isn't. So,
okay.
Yeah. The second point is working in an environment that is not optimized for the client. That means, I can give you an example. I had a client who worked in a business environment, and he used a computer, and he had his own desk to put his stuff on. But that wasn't enough for him. He needed 2 monitors to be able to see everything that was going on his computer. He needed a better lighting. He needed more lamps. The color of the walls, sorry, my voice is... The color of the walls were not good for him. And he needed a CCTV. A CCTV is, it looks like what's on the picture right now, except that it's not a computer, it's a screen with a camera under it and a little plateau, a little table or tray under it. You put your stuff on the tray and the camera looks at it and project the image on the screen, and it can be from 2 times bigger up to 40 times bigger. So he needed that too in order to be able to read the documents that his colleagues sent him. So we went and we did an assessment of his workplace, and the walls were painted another color. He got a bigger desk to put everything that he needed on it. He needed Zoom text, and they bought it for him, and there was a lot of accommodation, and the guy is still working there. So
that and the important aspect, though, to note about this example, though, I guess this was, at the end of the day, it was beneficial for the individual, of course, but definitely as well for the employer, because we then provided the tools to the employee, so that he can perform up to the expectation of the employer.
Exactly.
So it's a win-win situation, and that's something that is really important. And I guess if there's an employer listening to this conversation that we're having, though, this is really important. Sometimes workplace assessment can optimize the scenario or the environment in order to maximize production and productivity of a particular individual, especially if they have any experience any vision loss. Yeah. Sorry to interrupt, but I thought it was really important to highlight this really importantly.
So they have to, the people who work, anybody that works needs to use equipment that is adapted to the job they do. So if you need a computer and you're good at what you do, and the only thing that you need is Zoom text, which is a magnification program or a screen reader program, it's easy to fix, it's really easy to fix, and we can provide training. If the person needs training on how to use the program, we give training. We give training for everything that we do. If the person needs a white cane, we give training on how to use it safely, how to get walking, I mean walking from point A to point B, safely go from one point to the other one, or take the bus. We go on the bus with the client and we do all that with the client so they can get more independent. So
interesting.
Yeah, and some of the challenges that our clients meet is the people who have preconceptions about vision loss, about people with vision loss.
Yeah, and you know what, Mireille, I have to confess that even myself, I had a friend, still my friend, who has vision loss, and every time at first when I was trying to engage a conversation with him, and I work in the disability sector, but even myself, every time I was trying to engage a conversation with my friend, I was shouting at the person, my friend. It's like, and at one point in time, he told me, he said, Christian, you know, I'm not deaf, I'm blind.
Yeah.
But you know, it's misconception, right? So
Yeah.
a lot of people, if you have not been around a person who experienced vision loss, for a lot of people, and I don't think people doing that on purpose, but it's the lack of knowing, you know, how to handle the situation. And I guess that is a preconception or lack of know-how. Let's put it this way. It must be really present most of the time for a lot of people.
Yeah, it is. But that one is not too bad because it just has to tell you, I'm not deaf, I'm blind, and you're okay. You're okay. But there are other concerns that employers might have about hiring someone who has a vision loss. Like, the people might think that those accommodations can be expensive. Fortunately, they are not. They are not really expensive. Zoom Text, the magnification program I was telling you about, is around $700. And when you think about a ramp that you have to put because you have to be optical, that's nothing compared to that. A screen reader is around $1,500. It's an expense that will give you back because your employee will want to stay with you. Your employee will want to be able to work for the rest of their lives because, yay, I got a job, you know, and I want to work. So if it's at the cost of a program like that, I think that it's good to invest and hire a person who have vision loss.
And it's an interesting aspect as well, Mireille, you're totally right. It's up to the advantage of the employers. If there are any accommodation to be made, accommodation is not just because, you know, oh, we want to provide something to an individual. No, the accommodation, from my perspective, is to allow the employer to benefit of the contribution of that particular employee.
Yeah.
You know, and it's up to the advantage of the employer. So if there's a return on the investment, if there's a original investment, I think there is a great investment, if I may. But having said that, hold on, my cell is ringing out of Montreal, so hold on. I'm going to shut it off. Excuse me. There you go. Having said that, as well, though, there is another important element that I wanted to mention about this, though, when you talk about Mireille accommodation, is it too premature right now in our conversation to talk about, you know, some kind of assistance that employers or that programs that are available to assist?
Yeah, there is a program available. It's TESS. It's Training and Employment Support Service. It's with Patel, you know Patel.
Post-secondary education, training, and labor of New Brunswick. There you go.
Yeah, thank you. So yeah, if the person is a new employee, they are eligible to get money from that program. you have to apply with the help of an employment counselor.
Yeah.
And you have to fill forms, and depending on what the person needs, you have to get quotes on the price of what's needed. So it's a simple process.
So it's a simple process, but it's really important to remember and to know for employers and for everybody that there are some kind of assisted. It's not guaranteed. It's not automatic. No. But if it can make a difference, though, you know, there is definitely. Talk to us a little bit about the program and service. And I guess you already talked about it, though, but I guess you have 6 major, core services and programs that you have within your organization. Time is running out, so I just want to run through those before we can finish the webinar.
So referrals is the first contact with the client. We call them to explain what the services are, and then they are directed to the services they need. Adaptation to vision loss is with the counselor. She has one-on-one meeting or groups that she organizes and talk about how to adapt to vision loss, and she does that she has groups in St. John, Fredericton, and Moncton, and when the needs comes up, she can go in the north also. We have the low vision service, which is mainly the magnifier and lighting and the CCTV. Essential skills for daily living is, let's see, for it to be relevant for employers. If the person needs to learn how to type, we can teach that. If they go to the dining room of the workplace and they need to use the microwave oven, she can put things on it, and a bunch of things like that. She also shows money reading machines and talking watches, a bunch of stuff. Okay. Orientation and mobility, I've talked about that. I've talked mainly about mobility. Orientation in a workplace is if you have to go from your desk to the washroom or to the dining room or to see your boss.
Yeah. It's
orientation inside the building. And assistive technology is all the things related to computers and tablet, intelligent cell phone and tablets and stuff like that. Okay.
The last aspect, though, I think is kind of interesting because I'm always excited to hear about adaptive technology or assistive technology because, you know, I think that, you know, they can bring down, it does not apply for every situation, but I guess, you know, it's amazing sometimes when a little application on a smartphone, what kind of difference can it make for someone's life, which is pretty amazing.
Yeah. So you can go through the... So yeah, those are the
because we already talked about those. Yeah. Those are the sorry. Yeah, exactly. Having said that,
go back one.
Okay, this one.
Okay, I just want to talk about that.
Okay.
Here at CNIB, we mainly use the iPhone and the iPad because we think they are the most advanced in assistive technology, accessibility. So we do demonstration on how to use an iPhone or an iPad with accessibility tools like VoiceOver and the Zoom and changing the colors so it's easier to see. And we also talk about apps for people with vision loss. There's Blind Square, that's a GPS app. You can go outside with your phone and walk on the street, and it will tell you on your left you have Tim Hortons, on your right you have McDonald's and whatever. And it's starting to work also inside malls. And
oops, sorry about that. There's a
Okay, so and also other apps like that. There are apps that scan what's in front of you, and you can read your bank account or whatever you need, your personal letters and all that.
We lost Christine for a second, but we're just going to put back the PowerPoint up. So
okay.
Okay, so you can continue with the assistive technology apps.
Okay. So yeah, like I was saying, there's also scanners, color identifier, and other things like that that can be really helpful for clients. Can we go to the next one? Okay.
So I know you touched a little bit on the employment programs that you guys have. So talk a little bit more about the programs that are listed here on the screen.
Okay. At CNIB, we are always developing new programs, and we are developing one for transition for students. So if they want to go to continue in post-secondary education, or if they want to go right away to the workplace, or if they have graduated from university or college, we offer them a transition support so they can be prepared to meet employers and start to work. We do the service coordination of all that. We do educational assessments to determine if the client is ready to continue on their journey towards employment. We do workplace assessment, like I said, on every level, like I said before, lighting, computer accessibility and everything. We do training also if somebody needs to learn how to use VoiceOver on their iPhone, or need to learn how to use a computer with a screen reader, we do that, or other programs too. We do employer awareness and sensitivity training. So if you are interested in hiring someone with vision loss and you want to know more than you know right now, and more than what I told you today, we can meet with you and we can give you training on that. We do crisis intervention. That means, let's say your computer is not working anymore, your assistive program is not working as it should. You can call us and we can try to help you. Let's say somebody has a new position in the same company and they need a refresher on orientation and mobility, we can do that. We are there to help the client who wants to work and who wants to start to work or to continue to work. We're there for them. So we can do referral to other employment services and to CNIB, vision rehabilitation therapy. So yeah.
So, but Mireille, if I may, and I'm sorry, technologies sometimes work well, but sometimes, you know, it creates some kind of issue. But the employment program, when I look at the, you know, all the support that is included in the employment program, which is, for me, it's music to my ears, because it's exactly what employers and individuals need in order to get to proceed to the next logical step. But educational assessment, you know, educational assessment is it more about what the individual may need, or is it about educational assessment from an employer's perspective?
That one, educational assessment, is for the client, yeah. But down the list, we have employer awareness and sensitivity training, which is where we would do all that you're looking for, yeah.
Okay, I hear you.
Yeah.
I don't know if my colleague in Dieppe could move to the next slide, please. Thank you very much. Technology, these days, the slides are being moved all the way from Montreal to Moncton. So let's talk about meeting and event etiquette, because this is an important aspect that I think it's really interesting, especially you're going to be covering an element that we haven't talked about, which is guide dogs. And I would like you to run through this slides for us, please.
Yeah. So when you meet someone who has a vision loss, you introduce yourself. You say, "Hi, Christine, it's Mireille." And then the person says, "Oh, hi, how are you?" Because sometimes the person can remember your voice, but sometimes they can't. If you don't talk with them very often, how can you expect that they will recognize you? So you say, "Hi, it's Mireille," to everybody. You don't make any exceptions.
So you're saying a rule of thumb, every time we meet somebody who is vision loss, I guess, introducing ourselves by mentioning our name, because as you said, they may not remember our voice if our voice is not that particular, and I guess they have no other way of
knowing.
Exactly. Okay.
So and you wait for the other person to offer your hand to shake.
Okay.
At meetings, you introduce each person by name and indicate where they are in the room compared to the person with vision loss. So if you're in a meeting situation and you're sitting next to somebody who has a vision loss, you go around the table, you give all the names, and so they know where they are. You don't have to ask the people to say their name. You can just say, "Okay, Christine, next to you is ta ta ta, and then the next to me is that person."
Okay.
You can also describe the room so they know where they are. It's shape, the number of tables and chairs, and how they are arranged, and whether there are objects on the table. Okay, so they can decide where they want to sit and all that. And you should remove all the obstacles that could be in their way. Make sure the doors are fully open or fully closed, because partially open doors can be dangerous. Okay. The guide dogs, you do not pet a guide dog wearing a harness, because the dog is working, and you don't want to distract the dog from what it is doing, or from what the dog is doing with the person who needs the dog.
That's an important aspect, and I never realized to what extent, Mireille, people do not realize that a guiding dog is working. Every time he has his harness on, the dog is trained that it's like, I'm working right now.
Yeah.
And by petting the dog and playing with the dog, though, you're putting him out of context, and I guess for the person who's blind, though, is that they lose their support, because if the dog is no longer doing his job as it was trained to, and that could create some major issues. But for somebody who loves dogs, it's like, oh my God, not exactly dogs. No. But sadly enough, we can't do that.
No, unless the owner takes off the harness, then you can. But I would always ask the person first, "Can I pet your dog?"
Important.
Even
Thank
if
you.
You don't have even if the dog doesn't have his harness.
Okay.
Okay. Written material. So when distributing written documents, indicate which item is at the top, middle, and bottom. Be prepared to read aloud any written information that is not available in other formats. So like for my colleagues who are totally blind, we always prepare the documentation, most of it, because it can be a lot of documents. Most of the documents are sent ahead in an electronic format, so they can get acquainted with the thing, the information. And some of the information is printed in Braille. If we need the person to add it there with them.
Okay.
So when you leave a room, then you tell the person that you're leaving the room, so they don't continue to talk with you when you're not there. Yeah.
Yeah, and I once again I experienced something similar a few years ago when I was in meetings, I guess down in Ottawa, and as it was exactly the case. I had a person who was totally blind sitting beside me, and I step out of the room without when we were three in the room, but I stepped out, and without realizing that the individual who was blind could not see me leaving the room. And then during the conversation that the person had with our other colleague, she at one point in time she referred, and how about you, Christian? But I was no longer in the room, but she had no mean of knowing, so I should have. And those are simple things to do that doesn't have to be complicated, and it's not complicated. It's just trying to put ourselves in the position of the individual who's blind, and everything will make just sense. Let's put it this way, right?
Exactly.
Good show. Might as well go to the next slide if you don't mind, Jessica. Yeah, in the community, talk to us a little bit. How do you do that?
So like it says on the slide, we meet clients where they need us. If they need us at home or in the community or at their workplace or in our offices, we go there. We do all of that. And I should mention, our services are free. We go at the workplace and we do the assessment for the clients, because our goal is for the clients to be able to work and to live an independent life and to contribute to society. If they need us to go to the restaurant with them to check the lighting and see how they can read the menu, we'll go. We do whatever they need.
And it's free of charge throughout the province?
Yes, yeah.
And bilingual as well?
Yeah, let's say yes. If someone isn't bilingual, we'll have a volunteer that will go with them and translate. So
well, and basically that's what I'm saying. Technically, if somebody needs a service, there are means. If the employee working for CNIB is not bilingual, I guess there are means of making sure that the service can get around in both official languages. Next slide, please. So I guess those are your 4 regional offices, and does the staff is spread out through those, or do you have a main office? How does it work?
We have most of us are in Moncton.
Okay.
We do the north part of New Brunswick. We have an office in Bathurst with only 2 staff there.
Okay.
But we travel there so regularly. We have full staff in Fredericton, and we have 2 people in St. John. Yeah.
Wow. Okay. So technically, as you said, the service is available. Those are the 4 main offices.
Yeah.
But in reality, those services are available throughout the province. It's just a matter of reaching out, and within a reasonable period of time, you guys will get back to ASCP. Okay. Next slide, if we have another one. Having said that, Mireille, I'm going to take the time to invite the audience, if they have any questions on any specific you would have talked about during this webinar. One of the key elements would be, while allowing people to ask questions via the chat, if they don't mind, but while people are considering or thinking about maybe asking a question, in a nutshell, for your own information and benefits as well, Mireille, the presentation, we have the slides, will be shared with the participant of the webinar so that they have all the information about, the core services, the mission and everything, but most importantly, how to reach you guys, which is the most important aspect. The idea of having this webinar was to provide either to agencies and to employers that your services are available throughout the province. You can assist individual and employers in any different, in many ways, as you mentioned during the core services that you're offering. But most importantly is that free of charge, and it has to do with allowing individual to become independent. And that's the key element for me that I will remember about this webinar, is that CNIB is all about allowing individual to remain or become independent. And independency is, you know, like especially for the workplace, is so important. So yeah, Jessica, I guess we don't have, I'm looking at the chat, Mireille, and I guess my colleague in Moncton, Jessica, is asking everybody for their email, so she will share the presentation with each and every one of them. Okay. So I guess there is no question that came from the audience. Mireille, I will just say thank you, and thank you for collaborating with this webinar this morning. Once again, as I said, the webinar will be shared with the coordinates and everything. And I'll see you later on today, Mireille, with the French webinar in a few hours from now.
Yeah, thank you.
Looking forward. Thank you very much. Merci tout le monde. Thank you for the audience for participating. Have a good one.